Have you ever sat across from someone at a coffee shop, completely oblivious to the fact that they could buy the entire building without blinking an eye? The truth is, most genuinely wealthy people are masters of disguise, walking among us in plain sight while we're busy chasing Instagram influencers flashing rented Lamborghinis and fake Rolex watches. What if I told you that the person driving that beat-up Honda Civic might have more money in their investment account than someone posting selfies next to a brand new BMW? The reality is that true wealth whispers while fake wealth screams, and most of us have been trained to listen to all the wrong signals. My name is Nick, and I've spent years studying the habits and behaviors of genuinely wealthy individuals, not the ones desperate for your attention on social media, but the ones who've quietly built substantial fortunes while everyone else was distracted by shiny objects. If you're serious about understanding what real wealth actually looks like, and maybe picking up some habits that could transform your own financial future, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button if this information opens your eyes to something you've never noticed before. Here's what's fascinating about wealthy people. They've figured out something that most of us completely miss. Building wealth isn't about looking wealthy. In fact, it's often the exact opposite. While everyone else is playing financial theater, trying to convince their friends and strangers on the internet that they've made it, the truly wealthy are focused on one thing: actually making it. The problem is, we've been conditioned to recognize wealth by all the wrong markers. We think wealth means designer clothes, luxury cars, massive houses, and constant bragging about income. But these are usually the signs of someone trying desperately to appear wealthy, not someone who actually is wealthy. It's like the difference between someone who speaks loudly because they want attention versus someone who speaks softly because they know people will lean in to listen. The first sign that someone is secretly wealthy is something I call the 3E rule, and it's probably the most reliable indicator you'll ever learn. Wealthy people avoid talking about 3 specific things at all costs: how much they earn, their expensive purchases, and living in excess. This isn't an accident or some kind of weird coincidence. It's a deliberate strategy that reveals everything about their mindset. Let's start with earnings. When was the last time you heard someone constantly bragging about their salary or business income? If you're like most people, it happens more often than you'd think. But here's the thing that separates the genuinely wealthy from the wannabes. People with real money never feel the need to prove it through conversation. They've moved beyond the phase of needing external validation because they have something much more valuable than bragging rights. They have actual security. Think about it this way. If you had $10 million sitting in your investment accounts, would you really feel compelled to tell everyone at the grocery store how much you made last month? Of course not. You'd probably be more concerned with protecting that wealth and maintaining your privacy. But if you're struggling to pay your bills and desperately want people to think you're successful, you might be tempted to exaggerate your income or talk constantly about the money you're making. The second E is even more telling. Wealthy people don't broadcast their expensive purchases because they understand something that most people completely miss. When someone constantly talks about how much their car cost, how expensive their vacation was, or how much they spent on their latest gadget, they're usually trying to maximize the social return on their financial investment. In other words, they stretch their budget to afford something, and now they need to squeeze every ounce of status and attention out of that purchase to justify the expense. But think about someone who can easily afford expensive things. Do you think they're going to spend their time telling everyone about their purchases? Probably not. They bought it because they wanted it or needed it, not because they wanted to impress people. The purchase itself was the reward, not the social media posts or conversations that might follow. The third E is about avoiding excess. At least in terms of outward appearances, this might seem counterintuitive, but wealthy people often understand that true luxury isn't about having the most flashy stuff. It's about having options, convenience, and freedom. They'd rather have the freedom to quit a job they hate than have a flashy car that requires a payment they can't afford to miss. Here's where this gets really interesting from a practical standpoint. If you want to build wealth yourself, adopting this mindset could be one of the most powerful changes you make. All that energy and money that most people spend trying to look successful could be redirected toward actually becoming successful. Like, instead of financing a lifestyle that impresses strangers, you could be investing in assets that generate real returns. The second sign that someone is secretly wealthy involves something you see every single day, but probably never think twice about: their car. While everyone else is obsessing over the latest BMW or dreaming about that Porsche in their driveway, wealthy people are driving 5 to 10-year-old reliable vehicles that are completely paid off. And before you roll your eyes and think, this sounds boring, let me show you the math that explains why this strategy is actually brilliant. Cars are depreciating assets, which is a fancy way of saying they lose value faster than ice cream melts in summer. That brand new car someone just financed for $700 a month, it's losing thousands of dollars in value every single year, sometimes every single month. Meanwhile, the wealthy person driving that paid off Honda is putting that same $700 into investments that actually grow in value over time. Let's do some quick math that might shock you. If someone is making a $600 car payment every month, that's $7,200 per year going towards something that's losing value. But if that same money were invested in a diversified portfolio earning 8% annually, after 10 years, they'd have over $100,000. That's the difference between having a depreciating asset and having a growing investment account. But here's the really clever part about how wealthy people approach cars. They don't just buy old cars randomly. They understand depreciation curves and timing. Most cars lose the majority of their value in the first 5 to 7 years. After that point, the depreciation curve flattens dramatically, which means the car isn't losing value nearly as quickly. So by purchasing a vehicle that's already absorbed most of its depreciation, they're getting reliable transportation without the massive financial hit. This strategy reveals something profound about the wealthy mindset. They see cars as tools for transportation, not extensions of their identity or statements about their success. They'd rather have the extra money working for them in their investment accounts than tied up in something that requires insurance, maintenance, and constant depreciation. The third sign gets into territory that most people never even consider, and it might be the most revealing of all. Like, wealthy people spend money on things that normal people wouldn't even think about spending money on. But it's not what you might expect. They're not buying gold-plated toilet seats or diamond-encrusted phone cases. They're buying something much more valuable: time. Time is the only truly finite resource any of us have. You can make more money, but you can't make more time. Yeah, wealthy people understand this at a level that goes beyond intellectual knowledge. They feel it in their bones, and they're willing to pay premium prices to get their time back. This might mean flying private to avoid the hassle of commercial airports. While everyone else is standing in security lines and dealing with delays, they're maximizing their most valuable asset, their time. It could mean hiring a private chef who handles grocery shopping and meal preparation, freeing up hours each week that can be spent on more important things. The key insight here is that you'd never know about these expenditures unless you spent significant time with this person. They're not posting about their private chef on social media or bragging about flying private. These purchases are invisible to the outside world, which is exactly the point. This reveals something deeper about the wealthy mindset that most people never grasp. They're not just buying services, they're purchasing freedom from the mundane tasks that eat away at their most precious resource. While you're spending your Saturday afternoon at the grocery store and then cooking dinner, they're using those same hours to build their next business venture or simply enjoy time with family. But here's where it gets really interesting. The wealthy person's approach to these invisible luxuries is completely different from how most people think about spending money. They're not buying these services to show off or to feel important. They're making calculated investments in their own productivity and well-being. The private chef isn't about bragging rights. It's about ensuring they eat healthy meals without spending mental energy on meal planning. The house cleaner isn't about feeling superior. It's about reclaiming hours each week that can be spent on higher value activities. This brings us to the fourth sign, and this one might make you completely rethink how you present yourself to the world. Wealthy people are incredibly aware of their image, but not in the way you might expect. They're not trying to look impressive, they're trying to look invisible. They understand something that most people learn the hard way. When you broadcast your success, you invite problems you never saw coming. Think about it from a practical perspective. If everyone in your social circle knows you have money, what happens? Suddenly, you become the person everyone expects to pick up the dinner check. Family members start approaching you with their financial emergencies. Friends begin treating you differently, either with resentment or with expectations that you'll fund their lifestyle choices. But the problems go deeper than social awkwardness. Wealthy people are genuinely concerned about security, both financial and physical. When you advertise your wealth, you're essentially painting a target on your back. You become a prime candidate for lawsuits, scams, theft, and worse. Like, this isn't paranoia. It's pragmatism based on real risks that come with having substantial assets. I once had a conversation with someone worth well over $50 million, and when the topic of wealth came up, he said something that stuck with me. The richest person in the room is usually the one you'd never suspect. He explained that he deliberately drives a modest car, wears clothes from department stores, and lives in a house that's nice but not extravagant. Not because he can't afford better, but because he's learned that true security comes from anonymity. This image management extends to how they talk about money. Ask a wealthy person about their net worth, and you'll get responses like, "I've been fortunate," or "I can't complain," or "we're comfortable." So these aren't false modesty. They're strategic deflections designed to end the conversation before it reveals too much information. Here's where this gets psychologically fascinating. As people accumulate more wealth, they often start comparing themselves to others at their level or higher. I know someone worth over $100 million who regularly refers to himself as poor compared to my friends. At first, this sounds absurd, but it reveals something profound about human nature and relative wealth. No matter how much money someone has, there's always someone with more, and that comparison never really stops. The fifth sign might surprise you because it seems contradictory at first glance. Wealthy people will spend 20 minutes researching the best $15 phone charger on Amazon, reading reviews and comparing features, but they won't hesitate to spend $15,000 on a new roof when their house needs it. This behavior confuses a lot of people, but it makes perfect sense when you understand the underlying psychology. The difference comes down to wants versus needs and the concept of value optimization. That phone charger represents a want, and with wants, there are usually multiple options that could serve the same purpose. The wealthy person is trying to find the best value for their money, even on small purchases, because they understand that these small decisions compound over time. But when it comes to genuine needs, ones they especially urgent, don't hesitate to spend whatever is necessary. The roof repair can't wait, and delaying it could cause much more expensive problems down the road. They view this as an investment in protecting a larger asset, not just an expense. This behavior pattern reveals something important about how wealthy people think about money. They're not cheap, they're strategic. They'll gladly spend money on things that provide real value, protect their assets, or save them time. But they're ruthless about cutting spending on things that don't move the needle in meaningful ways. The sixth sign involves something that most people in our instant gratification culture have completely lost: the ability to wait. While everyone else is clicking buy now the moment they want something, wealthy people have mastered the art of delayed gratification on a level that would frustrate most consumers. They'll research a major purchase for months, waiting for the perfect opportunity, the right sale, or sometimes deciding they don't need the item at all. This isn't because they can't afford it right away. It's because they understand that most purchases are emotional decisions disguised as logical ones. By waiting, They give themselves time to determine whether they actually want the item or just think they do in the moment. Wealthy people also understand something about sales and marketing that most consumers never figure out. Almost everything goes on sale eventually, and most sales aren't actually sales. They know that retailers set artificial high prices so they can offer discounts that make consumers feel like they're getting deals. By waiting and watching, they can often get exactly what they want for significantly less money. This patience extends beyond shopping into all areas of their lives. They're willing to wait years for the right investment opportunity, the right business partnership, or the right time to make a major life change. This long-term thinking is part of what separates them from people who are always reacting to immediate circumstances. Here's what's really interesting about this trait. It often develops as a habit long before people become wealthy. The same patience and discipline that helps someone wait for better deals also helps them save money, invest consistently, and make better financial decisions overall. It's not just money. It's often a result of having one of the behaviors that helped create the money in the first place. The seventh and final sign might be the most important one of all, especially if you're trying to build wealth yourself. Wealthy people live in homes that are significantly below what they can afford. While everyone else is stretching themselves thin with mortgages that consume 40% or more of their income, the secretly wealthy are living in houses that might seem almost modest for someone with their financial capacity. This isn't about being cheap or lacking ambition, and it's about understanding that your house, while important, is just one piece of your overall financial picture. When you buy the biggest house you can qualify for, you're essentially trapping yourself in a lifestyle that requires you to keep earning at your current level or higher just to maintain it. But here's the psychological trap that most people fall into. When you stretch yourself to buy the maximum house you can qualify for, you're not just taking on a mortgage, you're taking on a lifestyle that requires constant financial stress to maintain. Every month becomes about making sure you can cover that payment, leaving little room for the unexpected expenses that always seem to pop up at the worst possible times. The secretly wealthy understand something that most people learn too late. Your house should serve your life, not dominate it. When you live below your means, you create breathing room that allows you to take advantage of opportunities when they arise. Maybe a great investment opportunity presents itself, or perhaps you want to help a family member through a difficult time. If most of your income is tied up in housing costs, these options simply don't exist. There's also the hidden costs that nobody talks about when you buy more house than you need. That bigger house needs more furniture, more maintenance, higher utility bills, and probably a landscaper, because who has time to mow that massive lawn? Before you know it, you're spending money on things you never even wanted just to fill the space and keep up appearances. The secretly wealthy often live in neighborhoods where they're among the more modest homes, not because they can't afford better, but because they've realized that keeping up with neighbors is a game. You can never win. There's always someone with a bigger house, a fancier car, or a more expensive vacation. They've opted out of that competition entirely. This brings us full circle to something that ties all 7 signs together. The secretly wealthy have figured out that real wealth isn't about impressing other people. It's about having options and security that most people can't even imagine. They can quit jobs they don't like, take risks on business opportunities, help family members in need, or simply enjoy peace of mind, knowing that their financial foundation is solid. What's fascinating is that many of these behaviors that signal secret wealth are actually the same behaviors that create wealth in the first place. Like living below your means, avoiding debt, being patient with purchases, and focusing on substance over appearance aren't just signs of wealth. They're often the path to wealth. The irony is almost beautiful when you think about it. While most people are busy trying to look wealthy through flashy purchases and social media posts, the actually wealthy are quietly doing the opposite. They're driving old cars, living in modest homes, researching $15 purchases, and avoiding any conversation that might reveal their true financial position. This creates a strange world where the people who appear most successful are often drowning in debt, while the people who seem completely ordinary might have more money than you'd ever guess. It's like a financial version of the Emperor's New Clothes, except in reverse. Everyone's admiring the naked emperor while completely ignoring the person in simple clothes who actually owns the kingdom. If you're serious about building wealth yourself, the lesson here isn't just to copy these behaviors superficially, it's to understand the mindset behind them. These aren't people who are cheap or afraid to spend money. They're people who have learned to distinguish between what matters and what doesn't. They figured out that true luxury is having choices, not having stuff. The next time you're tempted to make a purchase to impress someone or upgrade something just because you can afford the payment, ask yourself what a secretly wealthy person would do. Would they see this as an investment in their future, or would they see it as money that could be working harder for them somewhere else? Remember, every dollar you spend trying to look wealthy is a dollar that's not helping you become actually wealthy. And in a world where appearances can be so deceiving, wouldn't you rather be the person everyone underestimates than the person everyone sees coming from a mile away? So, there you have it. 7 signs that someone is secretly wealthy, and honestly, they're probably the complete opposite of what you expected when you clicked on this video. The person sitting next to you at Starbucks in worn-out jeans and a 10-year-old Toyota might have more money in their investment account than the guy posting Ferrari photos on Instagram. What's really fascinating is that these aren't just signs of wealth. They're often the exact behaviors that create wealth in the first place. The discipline to avoid flashy purchases, the patience to wait for better deals, the wisdom to live below your means, and the understanding that real luxury is having options, not having stuff. These habits compound over time, just like money in an investment account. The next time you're tempted to upgrade your car, buy a bigger house, or make any purchase to impress people, ask yourself what a secretly wealthy person would do. Would they see this as an investment in their future, or would they quietly put that money to work somewhere else while everyone else is busy looking at shiny objects? Remember, true wealth whispers while fake wealth screams, and in a world where everyone's trying to look successful, maybe the smartest move is to focus on actually becoming successful instead. If you found this eye-opening, make sure to subscribe for more insights into how money really works, and check out that video over there where I break down exactly how to get into the top 1%. Trust me, the strategies might surprise you just as much as these signs did.